a trainer at some point, Jacques Devore, I think, was the one who said this to me, who like trained a lot of cyclists and stuff, and talked about maximum overload. He talked a bit about, hey, I'm, as you approach approaching the bar is where the lift starts. And I think that there's a correlation to the same with the ice. And it's just something I want to say to like people who are listening to this, that it's whether it's cold shower or cryo, it's like all begins in the mindset that you start with before you enter the cold. And that there is anticipation of the ice bath is worse than the ice bath itself. I say a lot.
The anticipation of death is worse than death itself.
Dude, you know it. It's from a Steven Seagal movie.
No, actually, I believe it's
someone who's actually really smart. And I was like, I saw it at 6 years old in a Steven Seagal movie or something.
No, that's actually, it could be
like Bruce Lee or something.
It could be Sansu. I think it's from the art of war. The anticipation of death is worse than death itself.
Love it. And I think that correlates.
But Steven Seagal is also a good, because there were a lot of great Steven Seagal movies when we were kids.
Oh my God. I feel like when I was little,
he's one who's become a fucking cartoon character.
Yeah.
And now you just
Sweet
look at
thing.
him. Such a fucking weirdo.
You say just bless him.
Yeah, that's the nice way to be like, bless you. Fucking idiot. Like obviously there's fucking eons of research about the efficacy and more importantly like the health benefits. Mm-hmm. Would you say that at this point like the mental training is almost as beneficial as the health benefits?
I think I get a couple big lessons every time I get in the ice. So the short answer is yes. I think the mental benefits are, when you're looking physiologically, are we saying, oh no, yes, there are bliss chemicals in our brain. There's an adrenaline, there's an oxytocin hit. It's a great bonding chemical when you're doing it with other people. People who take their first ice bath with me always we remember each other. But just like the external non-scientific mental toughness component, and especially I see it in females because it's like I used to, when I taught yoga for like 8 years in New York City, and I would put women upside down in handstands for the first time since they were like 11, and they'd walk out of the room like they just had sex, and doing the same thing in ice is like you get out of the ice and you're like, I conquered something I didn't think I could. I posted yesterday about a woman at the conference. I put her in a Morosco as her first ice bath. And, quite often people will get halfway into that, like step, no. And your body has a sympathetic response. And I've learned as a coach where to find people's edges and to be able to guide them to get actually all the way into the water to keep going. And 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in, she like looks up to me and, that thing that happens at 90 seconds, I can see it in your eyes as someone who's there watching. That turnover is so beautiful. And 2 minutes in or so, she looks up at me and she says, I think I can keep going. I think I can stay. And that's, it's like a silly little story, but it sort of speaks to not just the efficacy of what's happening physiologically, but oh my goodness, I'm boosting my own confidence. I'm boosting my capacity and like how I can get out of the ice bath and then feel like I can conquer something in a different way. And, walking out of that space with your head held high. And sure, I think it's going to benefit everyone's mental toughness in some ways, right? And specifically because I work with females a lot and we're talking a lot of shit to ourselves in the mirror in the morning, and we would never let our friends get away with talking about themselves the way we talk about to ourselves in the mirror quite often. And so I see some major benefits with women shifting their state, with learning how to control their nervous system, with understanding when big stressors happen, how they can confidently and calmly manage those stressors. And so that to me is like second to none, really. It's like the mindset piece. Everything builds back to that mindset piece. Certainly I don't have to tell you guys, you're coming out of the NFL, it's like, how do you be calm in the storm?
It's Mushiashi's, don't speak ill of yourself or the warrior within will start to believe. Mm-hmm. And I think about that all the time. People are their own critics, and you're like, okay, well, if you can't even convince yourself to be positive, how are you going to convince other people? But which is the age old, if I can't love myself, how does anybody else love me? Yeah. And you're like, holy shit, dude. But this is what happens. Women are way more evolved. I think guys are way more simple. And I think if anything, when dudes get too complex, that's when all of a sudden I think things start going sideways.
Cartoony.
They get too deep into it. And I think at least I've observed, because I have brothers, is that for guys, if you're around other guys that kind of keep you in check and don't let you go to the fucking weird place, then you usually stay pretty good. And that's what happens with celebrities and a lot of athletes. You get to the point where you become so famous or so big that nobody around you will actually be honest. Yeah. And then you just become a fucking cartoon character. And
you really had a peek inside that curtain.
Yeah.
And oh my God.
I'm speaking.
You're speaking from beyond practical experience.
Yeah. 100%.